is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have my February TBR. So just like last month, I'm going to try to limit the amount of books that I say I'm actually going to be doing to hopefully close to 4. We shall see, because there are readathons happening in February that I want to participate in, and we have to try and fit books into those readathons. But we're going to start the same way that we did last month as well, talking about the Buzzwordathon. So it's not a readathon anymore, it's more like a challenge where you get a prompt every single month of the year. Last month was Dream. This month is to have some sort of color in the title. So it's a more broad type of category. It's not just the word color, it is a color. And just like last month, I'm going to have Presley help me. He is going to have 2 choices. Thank you. And we are going to have him pick which one I'm going to try to read in the month. The 2 choices that I have for Presley are going to be these ones here. So I have White Cat by Holly Black, and I have Silver Volume 2, technically, by Stefan Frank. Depending on which one he chooses, that's the one I will talk about, but let's get him set up over here so he can choose. We are going to have him pick. Now look, which one do you want? Silver? I actually was hoping he would pick that one because it is a graphic novel. This is volume 2 out of a 4-volume graphic novel series. I have read the first one, although I do believe I will be reading the first one again to do a refresher, because I think I actually read it like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. But this is a series that has vampires. It is all monochromatic, black and white, and the art style at first, when I first picked up the first volume, was not something I was fully invested in, but it definitely fits the vibe and the story overall, and so I'm very excited. Silver, set in Bram Stoker's original Dracula universe, 40 years hence into the pulpy 1930s. Silver Volume 2 follows Master Thief James Finnegan, Rosalind Sledge Van Helsing, and crew as they attempt to steal an ancient treasure hidden in Dracula's castle. Yeah, I do believe I remember something about a treasure or silver. I think it's the 40 pieces of silver from Judas. I really don't remember the first volume, so I'm definitely going to be reading at least volumes 1 and then 2 if I fully get sucked into this, especially since they are short graphic novels. I can definitely read volume 3 and 4 as well. Okay, and so that'll be our first book. I now think we're going to move on in the same order that we did last time, which means we're using the TBR bucket. For anybody that missed the January TBR video, I do have a TBR bucket because I just have too many TBR books to fit in any sort of jar. I'm hoping to get this down this year. This is one of my goals. I want to fit it into a smaller container. I have like 500 and something physical books in here, plus like 150 or at least almost 150 ebooks in here. So we definitely have a lot of titles. I'm just gonna shake it up a little bit, and then we're gonna reach in and see what the next book I'm going to read is. We have a green paper, and it's going to be The Last True Vampire by Kate Baxter. Let me go grab that. Okay, so here we go. The Last True Vampire. This actually sort of works out perfectly. I was actually dreading my TBR bucket a little bit. One, it works out because it is a mass market, and I do feel like I neglect my mass markets a little bit during my normal reading. I just don't always gravitate toward them. Partly probably because they're on like the bottom shelf of my TBR shelves, but also I'm planning on participating in the Fantasy Romance February, and this I know is technically like paranormal romance, but for my purposes this month I do think I'm going to count it because paranormal to me is a subset of fantasy. But yeah, this is actually sort of perfect. I bought this forever ago, like when it first came out. It even says like first in the new series on the cover. So I don't remember much about what this is supposed to be about. Yeah, this is copyrighted 2015, so it's been at least 5 years. But it says, sole survivor. He is the last of his race, the one true king of the vampires. Michael Aristov roams the nightclubs of LA after dark, haunted by his past and driven by his hunger. The last of the ancient ones, he alone has survived the destruction of his race at the hands of the Slayers. Now he is forced to hunt and feed like a common vampire, a creature of lust. Nothing in this world can fulfill his needs until he meets a woman who's everything he's ever wanted and more. Sweet salvation. Her name is Claire Thompson. Her blood is so sweet, so intoxicating, the smell alone draws Michael to her like a moth to the flame. Sly, sexy, and seductive, Claire seems to be the only mortal who can satisfy his craving and seal his fate forever. Can she be trusted? From their very first kiss, the last true vampire sweeps Claire into a world in which darkness rules desire and where falling in love is the greatest danger of all. Now, I also have the second book in this series. This is a series of companion novels though, so if I would have picked the second book out of the TBR bucket, I could have read that one first without having to read this one, but I'm actually very excited for it. I usually actually prefer fantasy or paranormal romance in general, so I'm very excited for it. I haven't read anything in a while, so I guess this is going to be our pick from the TBR bucket. Okay, the next book I have here is going to be my buddy read for February. It is not fantasy romance related, but we had decided on February before I realized that was even a thing, and it's going to be Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This is the only Riley Sager book I have not read yet, and so I'm very excited for it. Some people absolutely love this one the most. So far, I absolutely love Home Before Dark. Like, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I just really enjoyed that one, so I'm very curious about this. And this one was actually a Christmas present from Rye, from Rye's Reading Corner. I will leave her link down below. And she is also the person I'm going to be buddy reading this with. So we have to figure out exactly when that's going to happen in February. But we said it's going to happen in February, and I'm very excited. So obviously that was a thriller. I don't think I actually said that. It's Riley Sager. It's a thriller. I'm very excited. And now I have a couple other options. I wanted to keep my TBR around 4, but because of fantasy romance February, I started putting like a whole bunch of fantasy romance books on a like tentative TBR for February. These are all books that I own either in physical form or ebooks. So one of the first ones that I definitely want to get to in February is going to be Song of Blood and Stone by Elle Penelope. Elle Penelope is actually going to be one of the like authors that's joining in for Fantasy Romance February. I think they have different authors for different weeks that I guess are helping out with what's going on. I don't fully know, but they have quite a few authors, and some of them I'm very interested in, but I already owned this book, and so I definitely need to read this. This is book 1 of the Earthsinger Chronicles, and it says, Song of Blood and Stone is a treacherous, thrilling, epic fantasy about an outcast drawn into a war between 2 powerful rulers. The kingdoms of Elsira and Lagrimar have been separated for centuries by the Mantle, a magical veil that has enforced a tremulous peace between the 2 lands. But now the Mantle is cracking, and the true father, ruler of Lagrimar and the most powerful Earthsinger in the world, finally sees a way into Elsira to seize power. All Jasminda ever wanted was to live quietly on her farm, away from the prying eyes of those in the nearby town. Branded an outcast by the color of her skin and her gift of Earthsong, she's been shunned all her life and has learned to steer clear of the townsfolk until a group of Lagrimari soldiers wander into her valley with an Elsiran spy, believing they are still in Lagrimar. Through Jack the spy, Jasminda learns that the Mantle is weakening, allowing people to slip through without notice. And even more troubling, Lagrimar is mobilizing, and if no one finds a way to restore the Mantle, it might be too late for Elsira. Their only hope lies in uncovering the secrets of the Queen Who Sleeps, and Jasminda's Earthsong is the key to unravel them. Thrust into a hostile society and a world she doesn't know, Jasminda and Jack race to unveil an ancient mystery that might offer salvation. I don't obviously know much more than that, but it definitely feels like the magic is going to be very interesting, especially since we seem to have 2 potentially warring nations that are actually separated by some sort of magical mantle. I'm very excited. This I actually think is one of the longest books on my tentative TBR for this month. Actually, all the like fantasy romance stuff are quite long. I also have a deal with The Elf King by Elise Kova. This I picked up last year because it is a recent release, and I did have to get it in the gorgeous hardcover. This, you know, is just so gorgeous. I could not resist. Elise Kova is actually a self-published author, and so the fact that she has such gorgeous books is just, I don't know, it draws me in every time, and I haven't actually picked anything up by her. I do have, I think, the first Air Awakens book on my Kindle. So I do have a book by her and I just haven't read it. But this definitely fits for Fantasy Romance February. The elves come for two things, war and wives. In both cases, they come for death. 3,000 years ago, humans were hunted by powerful races with wild magic until the treaty was formed. Now, for centuries, the elves have taken a young woman from Luella's village to be their human queen. To be chosen is seen as a mark of death by the townsfolk. A mark 19-year-old Luella is grateful to have escaped as a girl. Instead, she's dedicated to her life to studying herbology and becoming the town's only healer. That is, until the Elf King unexpectedly arrives for her. Everything Luella had thought she'd known about her life and herself was a lie. Taken to a land filled with wild magic, Luella is forced to be the new queen to a cold yet blisteringly handsome elf king. Once there, she learns about a dying world that only she can save. The magical land of Midscape pulls on one corner of her heart, her home and people tug on another. But what will truly break her is a passion she never wanted. And as far as I'm aware, this is a standalone fantasy romance. It is one of the shorter ones that I have for this month, and I'm just very, very excited. The pages even have like detailing on the edges. Very excited. And then the two other books that I sort of want to get to in this month are ebooks that I have. One is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. I'm not going to go and try and find the synopsis for that. It's also a very, very popular one, but it is a LGBTQ male-male romance with werewolves, I'm pretty sure. It is very slow burn from what I've heard. The series is really long. I don't think the same couple is the focus of every book, but I could be mistaken about that. But I have friends that absolutely love that series, so I've been dying to get to this one. And then the other one is going to be From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one actually won the Romance Goodreads Awards this year, and it's a fantasy romance. So some people weren't as happy that it won, but it also seems to have a huge fan base, and I have read some books by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read the Lux series like forever ago, but I really did enjoy what I read, and I'm curious to see about this, since this is actually like an adult fantasy romance. And again, I don't know too much about it. I think it's possibly fae again. I don't know, but I'm very excited to try it out. Now, that's my whole TBR, I guess, for now. I, again, said I have a lot of things that I want to read, and I definitely do. There is one other readathon that I want to participate in February, and that is going to be the Demonathon, which is hosted by Yumi the Book Demon. I saw Demonathon happening last year and actually really wanted to participate. However, I didn't actually know it was happening until people were already doing it, and I had no idea how it worked. I was like halfway through the readathon by the time I realized it was a thing, and so we have a readathon for it this year, and I'm actually very curious about it. It's set up a little bit differently. They have the website going live on February 1st, and there's going to be some sort of interactive scavenger hunt type of thing going on for the first like 2 weeks of February to like figure out your challenges and prompts for your TBR. And then the readathon actually is going to take place from February 14th through the 28th, so the last 2 weeks of the month. And so I can't pick a TBR for that yet, even though I desperately want to know what's going on, but I'm very excited about the whole like scavenger hunt aspect. I know that there's multiple ways to do the readathon, so like you can do one book per prompt. I think you can double up on certain things depending on how you're actually doing it. I don't think we'll know more until the website actually goes up. So as of now, this is the whole TBR that I have. I want to say these first 4 books that I talked about are my priority books. I desperately want to do the Buzzwordathon, obviously, and my TBR bucket pick. And then I have my buddy read, which I definitely want to do, and the start of some fantasy romance books. So I think I'm probably going to be able to fit some of these things in during Demonathon, but again, I don't know the prompts yet. But overall, I want to participate. So that is it. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. If you have any preferences for fantasy romance books that you think I would enjoy or that you want me to read like and make it my priority, definitely let me know, because I have a lot on my Goodreads TBR list of like the books that I have in my possession, either here in physical form or on my Kindle. And narrowing it down is a little bit hard, which is why I talked about some of the ones that I feel are a little bit more popular. Subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more videos. I do have videos up Mondays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye!